All right, I think our friends from My Food and Family are joining us now.
Hi.
Lauren, hello.
Sorry about the delay. I'm just going to move this up a little bit. How are you?
No, I am great. How are you?
I'm good.
Wonderful. Well, we were just saying hello to some of our friends. We've got viewers all the way from Germany that have joined us today. So we've been talking about all that we're walking through what we're making. Yeah.
Amazing. Great. Well, welcome everyone to Cooking Together with My Food and Family. This is a new Instagram live series that's designed to help all of us through some of these uncertain times and equip you with the knowledge and skills you need to conquer your kitchen. On Cooking Together, we're going to be joining some of our favorite food and recipe bloggers to provide you with some great recipe content and give you some tips and tricks along the way. So my name is Lauren Bayer. I am on the KraftHeinz Culinary Team, and we are joined today by Stacey Little from Southern Bite. Stacey, thank you so much for joining us again this week.
Absolutely. This has been so much fun. I'm super excited to share this great recipe with everybody.
I'm so excited too. So I know we're making our barbecue-cheddar meatballs. So
Yes.
For anyone that's just joining, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to pop your question or your comments into the chat below, and we will try to answer them as we go. So should we get started?
I think that we should.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so I've started here. I've got a 6-quart slow cooker that I've sprayed with non-stick cooking spray. That's just going to make the cleanup process a little bit easier. To this, I'm going to add, this is a 14.5-ounce can of diced tomatoes with the juice. We want to use that juice. We're not going to drain them this time. To that, we're going to add a half a teaspoon of onion powder and 3/4 of a cup of Kraft original barbecue sauce.
Yum.
Right?
Yeah.
And the great thing about this is when we say barbecue meatballs, we're going to have serious barbecue flavor in these, right?
Oh, yeah. We're going to be adding it both in the sauce and then also adding it to the meatball mixture so you really get that like bold barbecue flavor.
Right. I've got a whisk here. I'm just combining these ingredients together. What we're going to do is just put the lid on this and set this on warm so that it heats through while we're making our meatballs.
Right. Yeah, what I love about this recipe is all of the ingredients that we're using are things that probably everyone already has on hand. And they're things that are in your pantry, and if you don't necessarily have those ingredients on hand, that it's really easy to make swaps along the way.
Right. Well, you know, we've already had some questions as we were getting everything going about the type of meat that we're using. And I explained that we're using extra lean ground beef here today.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is a healthy living recipe of ours. So we chose the lean beef, but if you don't have that, or you have, you know, a different type of brown meat in your fridge or your freezer, I think this recipe would still work great.
Right. Okay, so I've got 2 pounds of extra lean ground beef that I'm putting in my bowl here. And I'm not one of those people that is bothered by working with my hands, but since we're doing this today, it makes it a little bit easier to use gloves. I also find too that we're going to be making quite a few meatballs. Using gloves as kind of an insulator makes them not stick to your hands as much. That might all be in my head, but I find that makes it easier.
Yeah, and if you don't have gloves, I know gloves are in high demand right now, just like even oiling up your hands a little bit will help give it that nice, make it less messy.
Absolutely. That's a great tip. All right, I've got 1 cup. This is about 25 crackers. It's unsalted top saltine crackers, and they need to be finely crushed. What I did is I just put them in a little food chopper and just crushed them up. But I suppose you could just put them in a zip top bag too and take your frustrations out on them, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
I'll use a little of that right now.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I crushed those up. To that, I've got 2 eggs that I'm going to just whisk together. This just kind of helps everything incorporate a little bit easier when we beat them a little before. Yeah. And then we're also going to add to this another 3/4 of a cup of barbecue sauce. Like we said, we're going to have tons of that barbecue flavor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you don't have, I know this recipe calls for Kraft Original Barbecue, but if you don't have that one on hand, this would be great with any of our Heinz barbecue sauces or different flavored Kraft barbecue sauce.
Absolutely. That's a great way too to change the flavor a little bit. You know, each of those has a little bit of a different flavor profile, so make them taste a little bit different.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to get my hands in here and work this together. And you just want to get this all combined. You don't want to overwork this mixture, right?
Right. We want to make sure we get like a really nice, moist meatball here. And something I love when I'm making meatballs, I know at home, meatballs or meatloaf is when I'm getting my mixture together, I'll add a little bit of that meat mixture into like a skillet or pop it in the microwave and cook it and just taste it to see if I need to adjust any of the seasonings or anything as we go.
Absolutely. That's such a smart tip. You know, pulling the meatloaf or meatballs or whatever it is out of the oven and realize that they're under seasoned is always too late, right? So it's a super easy way that we can do that. All right, now we're going to add 1 cup of Kraft shredded cheddar cheese.
Yeah, and I love that we're adding the cheese and the barbecue sauce into the meatballs directly because it's really going to give it some really great flavor and just make them nice and cheesy and yummy.
Absolutely. Well, and the cheese is also going to melt and help keep them a little moist as well.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to start rolling our meatballs, and we're going to roll these into about a tablespoon each. And I find that the easiest way to do this is to use a scoop like this, just because it helps us keep them consistently sized, right? So that they all cook evenly.
Yeah, that's something that we always do in the test kitchens too. And again, if you're using one of those ice cream scoops, just spray it with a little cooking spray, and that will help and make sure it doesn't stick to that.
Right, I've got a sheet pan here that's rimmed. We want a rimmed baking sheet because, of course, these are going to, as they cook, the juices are going to flow out, and if we don't have a rim, they're going to run all over the stove or in the oven. I've also sprayed this with a little non-stick cooking spray, and it's just a matter of rolling these. Now, you'll fill 2 cookie sheets or 2 rimmed baking sheets probably with this meat mixture. It makes a lot.
Yeah. And I love that these meatballs, they're going to be baked in the oven, and I see you've lined your baking sheet with some foil. That just makes it so much easier for cleanup, because if you're going to cook meatballs on a skillet, on your stovetop, you've got oil spraying everywhere, you have to clean your pan, and this just makes it so much more simple.
Absolutely. Well, I'm not going to waste all of our time together today doing this because I've done a little extra prep work. We're going to fill this pan up, and I've got another one right back here that I've already done. Our oven is preheated to 375 degrees, I believe. And we're going to pop these right in the oven.
And for anyone that's just joining right now, we're making our barbecue-cheddar meatballs. And if you have any questions, again, just pop them into the chat. We'll make sure to try to answer them before we're done today.
Yeah. So I've already gotten these cooked. They bake for about 15 minutes and come out looking just like this. Our sauce is warmed through at this point, and so it's just a matter of transferring these from our greased cookie sheet here right into our sauce.
And it's so nice, too, because the slow cooker acts as not only just, you know, a way of kind of like keeping them moist and adding them to the sauce, but you can also use it as almost like a serving vessel to keep your meatballs warm as you want to eat them.
Right. And tell us a little bit about, you know, I kind of mentioned this in the beginning. There's several different ways that we can do that we can enjoy these.
Yeah, I love meatballs because this is a great recipe to just like cook once in the beginning of the week and then eat and enjoy multiple times throughout the week. And there's so many like versatile things you can do with meatballs. You could make these, keep them in your fridge for up to a week, but you could also freeze them in some freezer bags for up to 3 months or whenever you want to enjoy them. Just thaw them out in your fridge overnight. But I think these would be great. I think we're going to look at, you know, transforming these meatballs into a sandwich or something, but I personally would love to see them. I would eat them over like a lettuce wrap to transform them, maybe with some pickled vegetables on top. I think that would be really great. How would you like them?
You know what? I love the idea of transforming them into a sandwich just because that's, one other way that we can do that. Um, in this case, I think I would probably opt for like slider buns, or like in this case, I've got these larger French buns, but we can just cut these down into something smaller. And something else I was thinking about as we were talking about this, a vinegar-based slaw would be great on top of these, since we have that barbecue flavor, and when it comes to the South, or anywhere for that matter, with barbecue, slaw is a frequent side. And so putting a vinegar-based slaw just seems like a great idea with these.
Yeah, and it would give it so much color and crunch. I think that'd be delicious.
Yeah, and you can see the sauce. I mean, and I love, the sauce is just tomatoes and barbecue sauce. It's so simple. It's got the flavor from the onion powder, but so easy. I have to taste it. Is it okay if I taste it live?
Yeah.
Okay. So good. There's so much flavor here. I think it surprises me a little bit because there's so few ingredients, but there's so much flavor in these, right? I think that the sharp cheddar, oh wow, so good. I'm gonna have to get a napkin here.
Yeah, and I think back to what we were talking about, eating these, this would be great as just like an appetizer for maybe you're doing like a virtual game night or a family movie night. But even, the option to be able to transform it for later on to more of a meal is really great.
Sure. Yeah. I even have my toothpicks here that make it perfect as an appetizer. And that's the thing about cooking. It's like sometimes we can be super smart and do a little work and get several meals out of it. And those folks that aren't loving cooking can stretch that a little more, and get some more use out of it.
Right, absolutely. Well, thanks. I'm going to check to see if we have any questions.
Perfect. Ground turkey would work in this case, maybe even ground chicken, you think?
I think so, yeah. And that's the nice part about adding that barbecue sauce into the actual meatballs. So you're just adding more moisture in there in addition to the sauce. I think it would work great.
Perfect. I see we have a question. How much barbecue sauce? So it's 1.5 cups total. We put 3/4 of a cup of barbecue sauce in the meat mixture and 3/4 of a cup of barbecue sauce in the slow cooker.
Yeah. And then I do have a question on how do you make barbecue sauce if you don't have any at home. It's really
great.
3 ingredients, easy way to make it, again, using a lot of pantry staples. So ketchup, you've got Heinz ketchup, apple cider vinegar, and brown sugar, usually the way that I do it, kind of like a 1-to-1 ratio of all those things. And then you can add in whatever seasonings or spices you like, or adjust the sweetness or acidity according to what your family likes.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I also saw a question about the saltine crackers. The recipe calls for the unsalted tops, but as we said several times during this, people are challenged sourcing some ingredients. So I think that if you could only get your hands on the salted kind, that would work just fine. Of course, it's going to change the nutritional value a little bit. And there are other crackers that you could use, maybe even breadcrumbs as well. We're all kind of adjusting and just making do with what we have. So
right. It's great to be flexible, and I think that this recipe really gives us the flexibility with all the ingredients to make those swaps as we need.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Yeah, it makes, like I said, the recipe makes about 72. And when you think about that, that's a lot. So that's a great option, is to be able to freeze them. And then, if you don't want to eat them during the same week, you could freeze them and, pull them out, in a couple weeks or a month or so, and dinner's ready again. I don't think so. I think there was a comment about smell-o-vision, and I can tell you that I do wish that you had smell-o-vision, because these smell amazing. The test kitchen here is filled with that smell of barbecue.
I was thinking the same thing for myself. I'm very jealous right now.
Yeah, they do. They smell amazing.
All right. Well, thank you, Stacey, so much for joining us again this week.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been fun.
And thanks, everyone, for tuning in today. Make sure to tune in again tomorrow. Sarah will be going live with a Q&A on cooking with kids. And until then, let's keep cooking together.